Hello everyone and welcome. This week we are tackling once again, it seems to be a reoccurring topic, and it's reoccurring because it's still something I'm trying to grapple with and trying to understand, and that is routines. I know for a lot of people, and for myself as well, the word habit is kind of a bad word. We don't like the word habit. It just kind of gets a bad taste in your mouth. This is hard to talk about because I feel like I've talked about it already, but obviously I'm still dealing with it because I haven't seen the fruits of my discussion with you guys actually happen in my life. Let's address the T-Rex in the forest. Jurassic Forest. They're not alive in the Jurassic time. You know what I mean. I know that there are certain areas in my life where I have an easy time making routines and sticking to the routines, especially when those routines and habits are for other people. Like, I know other people are relying on me, so therefore those ones are like solid. I will not, well, I shouldn't say never because that's not true, but I will stick with those routines. I'll make sure that I'm doing what I need to be doing and be responsible because I feel responsible to other people. But then when I get home, it's a different story. It's almost like where I am accountable to myself and I am the one in charge of my time. Then that means that I'm not following a lot of good habits when I get home. I follow better habits when I'm interacting with others versus when I'm all by myself and no one is there to watch me. Character is what you do when no one is looking. So if I am one way when I'm out there, out and about with others, but I'm a different way when I'm only accountable to myself, then what does that really say about me? It doesn't say something that I want to be me. And so because I also have this difficulty with the word habit and routine, and it doesn't always sound pleasant, I decided I was going to reframe it. I'm going to give it a new name. And so I decided to go with Patterns of Destiny. Doesn't that sound so much cooler than habit? I've got this habit that I'm starting to do. No, I'm going to say I have this pattern of destiny. Just sounds so cool. We're crossing off habits. We're going to include patterns of destiny. What I did basically was, it was actually something that I don't normally do. I haven't watched back any of the videos. Okay, they're done, move on to the next thing, and I'm pretty sure that's what most people do. But I decided that I was going to refer back to some old videos because I know that this topic has been building up. It's something that has kind of been reoccurring in different forms. I looked at some of those previous videos and maybe there's some big takeaways that I can get from those videos. From the first video, I was really struck by time. The amount of time that is being used for various things. And so in the video, the analogy was like being inundated by a stream, like drinking from the fire hose of just all this stuff getting inputted and thrown at me and whatnot. And so I think time is important to consider because all you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you. This is a quote that I have always loved and always kind of felt attached to. And yet I haven't really moved forward. I have moved forward when it comes to my external life, when I'm interacting with others and when I'm out and about in the world. But it's kind of like when I come home, I have always felt that I don't use time very efficiently. That's why this quote really stood out to me. And not only is it kind of like a call to arms for me, but it's also reminding me like I only have a set amount of time. I don't know what that amount of time is, and I have to decide what to do with it. Am I going to waste my time, or am I going to expend that time a little more wisely? And I feel like I haven't been very wise about how I use my time. In the next video I reviewed, it was all about just really understanding if the habit or the way I'm spending my time if it is even beneficial to me. Is it serving me? Is it serving others? Or is it just more and more and more of the same? And so I have this picture in my mind about this, and it kind of goes along with the whole like flow of water. And so I have this flow of water that's coming at me, but I also have a flow going outward. And this kind of flow, we're going to say, yes, it's water, but it's representing time and energy. And so a lot of times, so I picture that I am watering a plant right now, and I am overwatering this plant because it's just, the hose is right there and it's just staying there. And is that really serving me well to water the plant to an excess that it no longer is even helping the plant anymore? Yes, a plant needs water, but does it need that much water? I want to do my natural habits, but are those habits really going to serve me well for the amount of time that I'm putting into them? And so on the flip, it would be, I want to diversify where I'm spending my time and where I'm spending my energy. I don't want to just put it in this pot. I want to water all the plants and not just the savior plant. I need to water all of the plants. The last one about goals, I talked about that I'm okay at setting like practical goals, but it's the big idea goals that I'm really lacking in. I'm afraid of others, and so I'm going to do what the outside world wants because I'm going to be afraid to fail. But when it comes to in my world, there's nothing driving me to push through, to push further, and that's because it's like I've fooled myself that it's my safe haven, and it's okay that I'm not pushing myself here when that's not true. That's not a true statement. In this area of my life, this is where I'm going to need to grab onto those big idea goals. So with that in mind, and with my patterns of destiny in mind as well, I have created some big goals for myself. So I'll kind of go through the process of what I did to get there. First, I thought about what practical thing I wanted to get done. And then from there, I tried to really think about two things. The things that I tell myself, and it's kind of like the reasons I give myself for not doing it. And then I also thought about how it affects. At first I was thinking about how it affects others, and then I thought, wait a minute, I need to think about how it affects me too, and what kind of emotions do I get when I don't do it. And then from there I kind of reframed what was the big idea, what was the big goal for my identity that could be attached to this practical piece that I want to do. So the first one is, I very practically, I want to have a nighttime routine. Meaning that I wash my face, floss my teeth, I brush my teeth, I do all those things that, and if it's a work day, I want to, kind of get ready for the day, for the next day. And embarrassingly, for the longest time, I didn't wash my face at night. And I would always wonder why I had pimples. It's like, duh. Too much detail. So just to kind of give you an idea of the whole process for at least one, what I would tell myself was, it's just one night. But then one night turns into 2 nights, and then it's like, oh, well, now my habit is look at the time and then say, forget it. I'll also tell myself, I'll do it in a minute. I'm in the middle of looking at this Facebook post. That 1 minute turns into 10 minutes, turns into 30 minutes, and then I either forget or I'm like too dang tired to do it. And it kind of goes along with that last one. I don't want to stop whatever I'm doing. The effect that it has on me is that I feel disappointed in myself. But the disappointment doesn't happen until the next day. I'm thinking about my emotions in that moment, but what I'm not thinking about are my future emotions. And really, that is one of the things that I found to be a reoccurring for not just this one, but for the other 2 items that I also thought through. It's like, okay, in the moment, I may not feel it, But later on, if somebody points something out, or if I notice it or whatever, then I get the negative emotions. So as my patterns of destiny, I want to keep in mind that my future self will not suffer as much. I may have to suffer by giving up some time. Woe is me, I don't get to do whatever, fill in the blank. But then later on, I won't have that shame or disappointment or selfish feeling, because then I have made a choice to break the habit and do something different with my time, and my future self will be happy. Or my future self will be happier in the moment that I'm thinking about that instance. That is what I want to be tied to my identity, that I am considering my well-being. Another example that I had was pick up after myself. And so that was the very practical thing. My pattern of destiny is I want to be a good citizen, not only outside in the world, but inside in my household with me and the people that I love. And then the last example, not making frivolous purchases. And so my big identity goal is being thoughtful and purposeful with my resources. And resources could mean money. It could also mean time. Those are the big ideas. I want those three things to be attached to my identity. I don't want to be the frivolous spender. I don't want to be the lazy, irresponsible person in the house. I don't want to be the one that can't even wash my face at the end of the night. So the good thing about these big overarching habits is that it doesn't look like one thing only. So yes, I did attach it to one practical thing, but it doesn't have to mean that one practical thing. And then also it kind of frees up the timing factor. I do really respect all the people that have very constructed and solid routines when it comes to when they're going to do this and when they're going to do that. Oh, it's Friday, that means I'm going to vacuum the house or whatever. I respect that so much. I would fail doing that, at least at this point in my life. Maybe later on I will be able to do something like that. If I say I want to be a responsible citizen in my household, then it doesn't have necessarily a day attached to it, a time attached to it. It is, I get to make the choice. Right now, I could be on Facebook. Right now, I could be watching YouTube, or I could be making a better choice. But it's keeping in mind that I want my identity to be a responsible citizen. And a responsible citizen makes choices at different points of their day to be that responsible citizen. This kind of goal is much easier to wrap my head around and then also to be successful at. Jordan Peterson talks about making your bed. And we all have our making our bed area in our life. And so this is just a snapshot of some of the beds that I need to make in my life that I'm not making. And maybe there's some area in your life too that you're overlooking, that you're just like pushing to the side and saying, meh, not going to worry about that, and other people have to take up the slack for you. We know that because we know we're putting so much time on our saviors, and it's those demons that get kind of pushed to the side. And for some of us, those demons revolve around all kinds of routines. And for some of us, it's just certain kinds of routines. So I encourage you to take a look in your life, and where are some areas that you have maybe kind of overlooked, some patterns of destiny that you could be kind of taking control over, and decide how do you want to reframe it so that it is attached to your identity. You're not this kind of person, but you are that kind of person. I hope that you join me next time, next week, and I will see you then. Bye. Swamp. I'm not sure. Where do they live? What would be the area? It's like Mediterranean, sub-Mediterranean. It doesn't matter.